The farmhouse wasn't just a house, it was a rebellion. For years, I'd suffocated in a city where my apartment balcony overlooked a parking garage and the closest thing to nature was a plastic fern in the lobby. When I first saw the listing for the property, 10 acres with private spring-fed pond, I clicked so fast I nearly cracked my laptop screen. The photos showed a weathered but proud farmhouse, its wraparound porch sagging like a tired smile, and behind it, a pond so still it mirrored the sky like polished glass. I didn't just want it, I needed it. The realtor, a chatty woman named Marjorie with a habit of jingling her keys nervously, met me at the gate. "Now, just to be clear," she said, eyeing the "No Trespassing" sign nailed to a nearby oak. The previous owner had disagreements with the HOA. Nothing legal, just strong opinions. She laughed, but it sounded strained. I didn't care. The pond was everything. Dragonflies skimmed its surface, and somewhere in the reeds, a bullfrog croaked a bass line to the birdsong. I handed over my life savings without hesitation. The house itself was a project. The floors creaked like arthritic bones, the plumbing groaned, and the kitchen smelled faintly of mothballs and nostalgia. But I didn't mind. By day, I sanded floors and patched holes. By night, I'd sit on the dock with a cheap bottle of wine, watching the stars fracture across the pond surface. One evening, as I scrubbed paint from my hair, I spotted headlights cutting through the trees. A silver SUV parked at the edge of my property, and a man in a polo shirt stepped out, clipboard in hand. He stared at the pond, scribbled notes, then drove off without a word. I told myself it was nothing. The first letter arrived the next week. "Dear neighbor," it began, as if we'd shared barbecues for years. The HOA stationery was thick, embossed, and vaguely threatening. "We invite you to join our thriving community." Benefits included uniform mailbox standards and regulated holiday lighting hours. I balled it up and aimed for the trash can. Swish, they escalated quickly. Flyers appeared under my windshield wipers. A committee member accidentally let their golden retriever loose on my lawn, then lingered to lecture me about leash laws. Worst of all was Linda, the HOA president, whose cherry-red SUV became a fixture at the end of my driveway. She'd wave with manicured fingers, her smile sharp enough to slice stone. "Just checking in," she'd chirp, eyes locked on the pond. One rainy Tuesday, I came home to find a surveyor's stake rammed into the mud near the water. Panicked, I called Marjorie. "They can't do that, can they?" She sighed. "They've been trying to claim that pond for years. The old owners sued them twice. Check your deed. If it mentions water rights, you're safe." I stayed up until dawn, squinting at the legalese. Sole ownership of all riparian features. I memorized the phrase like a prayer. The trespassing incident wasn't the first, just the brazen. That Saturday, I woke to the smell of charcoal. Through the curtains, I saw them. 3 families spread across my lawn like an invasive species. A grill smoked near the dock, kids hurled bread crusts at the ducks, and a man in a Kiss the Cook apron whistled as he flipped burgers. "This is private property," I shouted, barefoot and furious. The cook blinked. "Linda said it's community day. She even gave us a map." He held up a pamphlet with my pond photoshopped under the HOA logo. When the police came, Officer Gutierrez rubbed his temples like this was a migraine he'd seen before. "They are claiming prescriptive easement," he said. "Like if they use your land long enough, they can take it. But they'd need to prove you allowed it." I seethed. "They are liars." He nodded. "Then fight harder." Elena, my lawyer, was a storm in a pantsuit. "They are threatening to fine you into oblivion?" Classic. Let's countersue for harassment. But the HOA had deeper pockets. At our first mediation, their lawyer slid a document across the table. "Sign over limited weekend access to the pond, and we'll drop all fines," he said. His cufflinks glinted, tiny silver gavels. "Or what?" I asked. He smiled. "Ever hear of nuisance violations? We can make your life loud." They did. The next week, a dump truck mistakenly delivered a mountain of mulch to my driveway. Then, a noise complaint was filed against my aggressively loud wind chimes. I didn't own wind chimes. But the worst was the pond incident that I came home to a nightmare. The water was murky, reeking of chlorine. Fish floated belly up, their scales dull as old coins. A shattered bleach bottle bobbed near the dock. I collapsed to my knees, scooping a handful of water, my throat burning. Who would? Then I saw it, a security camera sticker stuck to a tree, the HOA's insignia half scratched off. Elena pounced. Destruction of property. Now it's criminal. The police found fingerprints on the bleach bottle, belonging to Linda's nephew, a HOA volunteer. Suddenly, the local news picked up the story. HOA accused of eco-vandalism and property feud. The HOA's Instagram flooded with comments like "toxic Karens" and "leave the pond alone." In court, the HOA's lawyer claimed the bleach was a misguided volunteer cleanup effort. But Elena had her ace, drone footage of Linda staking the pond weeks before I bought the house. "Planning the takeover early, weren't you?" she snapped. Linda squirmed. Then, Elena called a surprise witness, Marjorie. "The HOA tried to block the sale," she admitted. "They've wanted that pond for years. Even offered the old owner free lawn care for life if he'd sign it over." The judge's lips thinned. "This reeks of coercion. We won. But the pond never fully recovered. I restocked it with fish, but the frogs were slower to return." Linda resigned to spend time with family. The rumor said the HOA ousted her. For months, I dreaded retaliation, egged windows, anonymous threats, but it never came. Then, one October evening, a figure appeared at the dock. A teenage girl, her HOA hoodie frayed at the cuffs. "My mom's the new president," she said, scuffing her shoe in the dirt. "She, told me to give you this." It was a flash drive labeled insurance files. I plugged it in. Years of HOA schemes, including plans to drain the pond for a community pool. I leaked it to the press last week. I found a letter in my mailbox. No logo, no return address. Just 4 words, "We're selling." You win. The HOA disbanded 2 months later. Their clubhouse foreclosed and their signs tossed in a dumpster. Tonight, as fireflies blink their Morse code above the water, I finally feel safe. The fence is gone now. Instead, I built a bench by the dock and painted a small sign, "Private property." But ask nicely and I might share a beer. It's not perfect. The city still hums in the distance, and the farmhouse roof leaks when it storms. But the pond is mine, every ripple, every cattail, every defiant inch of it. If you like this story, so don't forget to like, subscribe my channel for more existing stories like this.